us. And with a completely straight face, without a tear in his eye, he said, so that we wouldn't forget and so that we wouldn't run away, they cut him up and gave each one of us a piece of that kid. And so for the next few miles, I had to carry his arm. We have so much to be grateful for. That we have a family that we can go home to, that we have a bed that we can sleep in. Going on a mission trip will take your kids out of their comfort zone and help them to see the reality of the world around them. So, for the sake of time and to keep this somewhat on schedule, I'm not going to share a whole lot about our trips, but the things that I want you to know is that you can take your guys on a mission trip. It's easy to just like something you can organize yourself, something you have to do, and your guys will learn so much from it. If you don't have time to organize something like that, you can come on a trip with us. We do trips every summer, and we could definitely use a few leaders. It'd be great to have you guys with us. But just want to encourage you, try to start a mission trip and just do something to take your guys out of their comfort zone. They will learn so much from it. Finally, missions work needs to start at home. And I can't enforce this enough. Has anybody read the book by Chris Folmsby, A New Kind of Youth Ministry? All right, pick it up. It's a quick read. But anyway, Chris Folmsby talks about a mission trip experience that he had. And so, in a nutshell, he was leaving Nashville after a week of, soup kitchens and service projects, and he was going back home to Minneapolis. And while they were at a rest stop, they happened to see another van, looked like a bunch of youth group kids, and they just happened to be coming home or leaving their trip in Minneapolis, going back home to Nashville. It's like they were both in their home cities, and they're both going back home. Is there something wrong with that picture? Like, don't get me wrong, missions, a huge part of it is going to those faraway cities. But missions trips are way more than getting on a plane or taking a van ride to a faraway city to meet people and to work with people that you may never see again. Missions work needs to start at home. So when a missions project is only one time a year, when it's just, here's our summer trip, who's coming, we'll go on this trip far away. When it's one time a year, what does that communicate to your young people? It's basically saying this is mission trip time of life, and then this is the rest of life. The kids feel good, they get on their spiritual highs, and they think, I serve God over here on my mission trip, but then there's the rest of life. And so those trips are so important, but we need to start missions every day. And how do we do that? First off, it needs to start with you. And I'm sure it already has. I'm sure the kids see you, that you go on a trip to a public skate park. Are you out there talking to kids that are not in your group? Are you reaching out? Missions needs to start in your heart. It's tough because, we all work in ministry in some ways, whether we volunteer or we're full-time. And we think, I just want to take a break. I just want to sit on this plane ride and not have to talk to the person next to me and just relax. But it needs to start in our heart, and it will be contagious, and the kids will see that. So next, how do we develop the missional mindset in our young people? When you're on those, once or twice a year trips, talk about being back at home and the reality of they're going to have to go back home and into their everyday life. And so put it into perspective for them. Let's say you're, at a soup kitchen. You're driving home. Ask them simple things like, those guys that we were just serving, what is it that they really need? They need the freedom in Christ. So ask them, do you guys know anybody else, at home, your friends, who needs that freedom in Christ? Out of the few skateboarding mission trips that we've done, this past summer was the most encouraging for me because I saw guys come on our trips that were questionable in their faith. And on car rides going home, they were just saying like, yo, Steve, man, like there's this other guy back at home, like I need to tell him about Jesus. Like how sick is that? Like, the missional mindset needs to be contagious, and it can happen, and it will happen in these kids. So, not only does it have to start with you, not only do you have to, bring reality into those one-time or two-time-a-year mission trips, but you can do missional work on a regular basis. And so something that I've been really excited about, and something that we're doing with our guys, is doing regular service projects, whether it's once a month, 2 times a month, going into the city, bringing blankets to the homeless. This is just something that you guys can grab your group and let them get creative. Let them decide what they're going to do. And so, just to wrap things up, missions work has been huge in my life, and it can be huge in the life of your young people. Come find me if you want to talk about organizing a trip, or maybe if you want to come on one of our trips. And finally, don't forget that missions work needs to start in your life, and it needs to start at home first. So right now, I'd like to introduce a guy who is living this out. We're going to see a video clip, and Steve is going to introduce it. Steve is right here. All right.